What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of No Reserves Radio. Alex, are you
How's
ready?
it going, guys? How's it going? I mean, it's the decisive week, isn't it, for most of us and our listeners?
Yep. So,
It's
what
last
do
week
you
before the playoffs.
have as a perennial loser in the playoffs? What advice do you have for people to lose in the first round of the playoffs?
It's better not to make it than to make it with full of hope and lose round one.
This guy.
So I guess I'm just okay losing to you this week.
No, I'm not even going on. No. See, well, it wasn't really a wholesome moment. I'm trying to give you a platform. I'm trying to give you a runway as someone who is perennially in the playoffs in dynasty and well, redraft is probably my thing. But as someone who is perennially in the playoffs in dynasty, what advice do you have for players about to enter the playoffs?
Limit your choices as much as possible. To me, that's what always does me in. It's that I have way too many options. And when the playoffs come, it's just it's just impossible, and you're gonna beat yourself over it because just one bad choice and you're out of the playoffs. And just embrace that this is full of randomness. Like when you get to the playoffs, I to me it's 70% luck. It's just how well you perform. It's just there's no room for maneuver here. It's if one of your studs lays a dud, that's just fate. There's nothing else to it. That's just bad luck, dude. Try again next year. And as someone who's been trying for what 5, 6 years, there's always next year, guys. Always next year.
There's always next year. That let's hear it. That is
That is
a
the type
man who
of
has been beat down.
yeah, that is the type of uplifting comment that people want to hear, isn't it?
There's always next year. So,
So
who do
how do
you
you
think?
feel? How do you feel? And I guess I'll put this question to you. As someone who's perennially not in the playoffs in a dynasty league, what's your advice to people who are just out of it? What do you do
um,
with all this free time now?
this guy. Oh my God, what do you do? Well, generally speaking, you do some preliminary college scouting. Obviously the big time for you is the combine because then you can at least get a insight on some of the athletic scores for some of these prospects like nabbers like Marvin Harrison Jr., just to name the big wide receivers. And honestly, you want to know a low-key advice if you haven't already done it.
What?
Okay, if you know you're out of the playoffs and your league uses max points for,
Yes.
cut anyone who can add to those points. Especially if you can't trade them. Like, I'm not talking about cut. Like, if you have Justin Jefferson, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you have someone like, God, I'm struggling. Like Devin Singletary, who you don't think is going to be getting as much opportunity. That was probably a bad example because Devin Singletary has been going off, but someone of that ilk. Like you have a second string, a third string running back. Maybe he gets some opportunities and increases your max points for. If you can't get a deal for that guy to a playoff contender, then you need to cut bait with them. I promise you the difference between like the 102 and the 103 is bigger than any value you would get out of that guy.
Here I was just about to cut Justin Jefferson, dude.
Yeah. You don't have Justin Jefferson in any leagues. I do.
No, I was about to cut Jamar Chase in our main league after
There you go.
after our infamous matchup that is about to come up.
14
How
and 0 you are.
how do you feel about that? It's like it's the first time in quite a while in which you have a realistic chance of putting that to bed. So for those of you who don't know, me and Angelo have been playing together in this league for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. And
2016, 2017. So
yes,
it's going on 7.
and we have been in the same division ever since. We've even had a division like shuffle, and luck of the draw just kept us both in the same division. And he has never beat me in a single divisional matchup. Plus, I'm not sure if we faced in the playoffs ever. Probably not, because then you would have a win. But how do you feel about being finally in a position to end it? Because you're currently projected to win
I don't
117.5 to 113.34.
So honestly, like when I honestly never think about it, if I'm being real with you.
Never?
Never. Even like when I lost all those, so like when I had a better team and I was losing those games, I didn't think, I'd never beaten you.
Oh,
It's not. I guess when you blow up your team, like everything just gets cleansed. Like everything before you just like try to erase that from your mind. So
that is
like
fair, yeah.
maybe I'm 0 and 14 or 0 and 13 against you, but I feel like I'm 0 and 0, if that makes sense.
The new you is 1 and
The
1.
new
It's
me.
1 and is 0 and 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, this I'm kind of not sure if I have any chance. Of course I have a chance. Like I always have a chance, I guess. But I mean, there's just way too many decisions right now for me, and I just know I'm gonna mess one up. There's like there's one the one that I'm like 99% sure that is gonna happen is that I'm gonna start Jake Browning this week, and Joe Flacco is gonna have a great game.
So here's the thing. It's not like you're deciding so here's something weird because the reason that you normally have this problem is because you have a lot of really good players. Like I'll use my quarterback situation. I'm deciding between Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. That's the number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks in fantasy. Normally, when you're deciding between two people who have performed that well, no matter what you get, it's usually pretty good. You, on the other hand, can have like a top 10 producing player or two top 10 producing players, and one of them will score like 5 points and the other one will score like 35 points. It's actually really weird.
Yeah, the one who I don't start always scores massive
But
points.
but I guess my I guess any advice I would have for the playoffs is don't overthink your lineup. Like I understand you're in a situation where you're picking between Jake Browning, Joe Flacco, Tommy DeVito, and Zach Wilson. That's not exactly like lighting the world on fire, but
It's just picking your poison right now.
if you have studs, even if you have a lot of studs, pick the guys that you have the most faith in and lose. If you're going to lose on that accord. That's the advice I would give someone.
Yeah, in my situation, like I have, as you mentioned, I
Because
have all
because
of
it
those
seems like
four.
I don't know why, but it seems like you like stew over those like missed calls a lot more than I do.
Yeah, and I think it's just because I have more options, and that's usually what happens every single year.
Mm.
And it's I at this point, all I can do is just call it either bad luck or just a curse or something. Because it's not even sometimes it's not even the bad choices. Sometimes I make the perfect choices, but then there's a guy who just completely bottoms out and does nothing, or he goes out early for an injury or something. I mean, just this season alone, I haven't even reached the playoffs, and I've had like I don't know, three or four matchups in which they were decided by minimal things and just things that are completely like either injuries, a fumble before the player got hurt, all of those things would just pick at the last second, like all of those things that are really like out of your hands and you really can't control, and it's just bad luck. But in this case, as you mentioned, I have a choice between these four guys. I wouldn't really say DeVito or Zach Wilson are in this equation, So if they do end up being the highest scoring QB on my bench, I won't really be mad because that's just
Yeah.
it wasn't an option. Now I am pretty sure that one of Flacco or Browning is gonna have a great game, to be honest. I just have this gut feeling that one of them will score 20 plus points, and I am pretty sure I'm gonna get it wrong.
And you mentioned the like single point losses. Here's something you can take solace in, and sorry, anyone who's had bad matchup luck can take solace in. That doesn't happen that often. So if it happens to you 5 times in a season, does it suck? Absolutely. But is it likely to continue happening like year over year? No, it's not. It's just a bad year. It's just a bad year.
This is just the sixth bad year in a row.
This guy. It's really not though. You've been a top. This is the only year you're not a top 3 seed.
Yes, and I'm still like the thing is I'm still top four in points
Yeah.
in the league. I'm like what? I am 70 points away from being first,
Yep.
roughly.
And you could miss the playoffs.
And yeah, and I can miss the playoffs. And I'm pretty sure even if I win, it's tough right now because there's a whole lot that needs to happen.
How
So
would you
I've gone through
feel
this.
about because I'm pretty sure that would be the first time that you've gotten last place in the division. How would that make you feel?
I mean, that's just peak my team, I guess. I'm not even shocked with anything right now. It's just I don't know. I don't even have the words for it.
I don't even have the
It's
words.
it's as it's as like this was the season in which my team showed me what they can really do when things go south. It's just like middle finger
But
to me, like absolute
it's not.
middle finger.
Uh, oh, like
Plus the amount of injuries that I've had to deal with.
yeah,
It's just come on now.
that is true. That is
Guys
true.
are just falling off like flies. I mean, I make a trade for a tight end because my first tight end is garbage, Kyle Pitts. I made a trade for Darren Waller. Darren Waller goes out. Then I trade away Kyle Pitts. I get Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews goes out. Then now I'm stuck with Tucker Craft, I guess.
Yep.
That's a thing. Now, and not to even mention like every other thing, like the Anthony Richardson injury, Kenneth Walker being out for a while, Derrick Henry having his off games,
Yeah.
just way too many stuff. But I guess that's fantasy football, isn't it?
hmm
In the end
So,
of the day, that's just it.
so do you think because around this time of year there are these players that just go absolutely bonkers these last like 3 weeks or these next like 3 weeks and they like win someone a lot of money, win someone a fantasy league. Who do you think could be that player or players? It could be
This
someone obvious,
might
it could be someone not obvious. I'm just curious who you think might go off.
this might be a bit biased, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but I really think Alvin Kamara is about to have just two or three like massive games. Like he faces Carolina this week, which is one of the worst
I'm pretty sure
running
they are the
defenses in
worst.
the league.
I'm pretty sure they are the
Yeah,
worst.
I think they are like close to it the Bengals, who aren't really that good as well versus the run. But yeah, the Carolina is the worst team versus the run. Then they face the Giants, who are just not a good defensive team this year. Then they go at the Rams, which might be a high scoring game. They might be behind, and then it's just perfect Alvin Kamara dump offs. I really think he's about to have a massive stretch here. And I guess
You want to
other
hear
than
something
that,
crazy?
I think it's Olave as well.
You want to hear something crazy?
What?
Alvin Kamara missed the first 3 weeks. He's the top five
Yeah, I
running
know.
back in fantasy.
Yeah. It's just on an absolute tear.
That
I'm
is
just glad I traded for him.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean, I
From
technically did
you,
trade for him, but
you then traded him here.
mm,
Yeah, but there
I
you
like the
just
return
know
I
that
got
there's
though.
gonna be
Anyway.
yeah. Plus Metcalf has did have a pretty good game.
It's
I'm
like
just hoping
Metcalf
he
was
has
waiting to get
another.
off your team. It was really weird.
You did get some like bad games from him, and I'm hoping you get another one this week.
I can only recall one, the San Francisco
Um,
game, and he had 9 targets.
yeah,
He had 9 targets, so it isn't
and
like
you
the yeah
you know who we will face this week?
San Francisco.
I'm just hoping that I'm just hoping.
Their offense is
And
just down again.
another one, which I mean, this player usually just goes off on December. It's Derrick Henry. Like
He's hurt. I'm not sure
this
how hurt,
hurt.
but
First they were saying concussion. Now is like not in concussion protocol and never was apparently.
it's
Um,
never good when like they can't get their story straight of the tale they want to tell. It's
I mean, Vrabel was pretty adamant that he was not in the protocol. Like that was reported by Schefter. But I mean, Mike Vrabel has been pretty adamant that he wasn't. So I'm not sure who to believe. I guess the head coach. But I mean, it's just historically, he usually has good games versus Houston, and he faces Houston twice in the next 4 weeks. Plus, it's just, I mean, it's December Henry, so he usually just churns along in these weeks. So I think he's a good candidate to just go off. And I mean, even though he has been having a pretty bad year for his standards, I mean, he's still running back 7 on the year,
you know
which is
who
nuts.
you know what? I'm gonna say this. If you've had the Dallas offense in any like regards, you have you have pretty much eaten the last like 5-6 weeks.
Oh, for
So
sure.
looking at who they have left: Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Washington. All those teams can either put up points or has an atrocious defense in the case of Washington. I think you could see CD Lamb finish the season super strong. Dak Prescott finish the season super strong. Ferguson, Pollard. I think the Dallas offense is going to be very, very pivotal in the playoffs. That's my take.
I mean, Ferguson even went off versus the Eagles, I believe. And he had like, yeah, he had his second, no, his best game of the season was versus the Eagles
Was it
when they
really?
first faced. Yep.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he had
10
10 targets,
targets.
7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I do agree. It's just like, I think it's just those two. I guess Brandon Cooks has been pretty under the radar, and he's been doing well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's been a wide receiver too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, since the bye, he has had 40, this is PPR points 14.2, 1.7, that's a dud. Then 32.3, 7.2, 17.2, 16.5.
Yeah, I'm wrong about the wide receiver too. But yes, since the bye, he's had some pretty decent games.
Yeah, he's been pretty solid and pretty under the radar, I guess. I mean, he started pretty rough. Like,
Yeah.
first 6 games, he missed one of them and had like only one game over 10 points. The rest, he managed to score like his best was like 5.7. Pretty bad. But since the bye, I mean, the whole offense since the bye has been looking pretty good. And I guess it's just Dak playing better. Plus their competition, I guess, or the secondaries that they've played aren't like the greatest. So yeah, I do think that Dallas is a solid stack, and you have like what you have the Dak, you have CD, you have Ferguson,
I
and you
don't have
still
CD. I wish
have
I tried to get CD
no no
before he went off.
yeah
I tried so hard. I couldn't.
yeah. It's hard because the owner who has CD in our league isn't the most responsive guy. So
Yeah. So he's already gone off. I've already heard people talking about CD being in the AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase tier, and I'm just like, well, there goes that. There goes that.
do you agree with that though? because there was when the season started, he was having like not a great year, not a bad year either, but a rough year, I guess, for his standards. And now,
So
I mean, he's been amazing, and people have come around on him. What do you think of that?
I
He's
think
solidly in like that top five
I
guy.
think the wide receiver tiers aren't as solidified as you think they are. I think that if you're a good wide receiver, you're just waiting. Like if you're a number one wide receiver on your team, you are just essentially just in the wings waiting to go off so that you can elevate into that tier with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, essentially. AJ Brown's done it. CD Lamb's done it. If you want some people who aren't in the tier who could be in the tier, not this year, but in the future, I think Drake London could have a season and he could be catapulted easily into that tier. I think if Devontae Smith ever got on his own team, he could be catapulted into that tier. Like that's a discussion I don't think we have about the wide receivers as far as how we tier them because we tier them based on like how they're performing in the now. It feels like, and it's just if you're up there with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, it's because Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase consistently perform. That's
I do have an interesting, I guess, interesting take here. Because
good.
I do have this guy's like, I do have a pretty solid top six wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
ranking for Dynasty or even redraft, I think. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But it's I guess you can like put a tier break here, but it's those guys are the top six to me, and I don't think it changes anytime soon, at least during the season. I don't expect anything to. During the offseason, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. can jump here because of the rookie hype. But it's
Yeah, I
it's
think if
Chase,
Marvin,
it's Jefferson.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go on. Sorry.
I think if Marvin Harrison has like a Justin Jefferson 1,000 yard year, he'll be in that tier regardless of what else happens. But go on.
Yeah, but even as a rookie, like as soon as he gets drafted, and I think he gets drafted top three in the draft, as soon as he goes, I think the hype will just put him definitely top 10. I'm not sure if he rises even more than that before he takes a snap,
Well,
but
here
I'm
let's do
pretty
something.
adamant.
Let's do something interesting. Okay. I'm going to keep trade cut. I'm going to see what an early first is, and you can assume that he'll probably be just as high, if not higher, because he's the 101.
I think you can put actually the 101 there right
You
now.
can? Okay, well
I
then
think
I
so.
then I'll,
But while you do
so
that, I'll just end the top six. I think it's Chase Jefferson. I think it's AJ Brown and CD. And then one that you didn't mention, but Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you put Tyreek Hill. Because even with his age, you sort of like the only concern here is the longevity of it. I'm not sure how long he will still play. There has been talks that he will retire at the end of this deal. I am not sure that is the case. But I mean, production alone, that's just like that's a guaranteed 20 to 30 points every single week. And you just can't really compete with that. So he's definitely sixth in that tier. But I have that those six guys, I'm not sure they will move anytime soon.
okay, so the rankings have an early first. I'm trying to put the 101 into the trade calculator and see what it exactly. Well, no, it still is only an early first.
Oh, it
Okay,
doesn't let
so
you? I thought it did.
no, no. So right now, an early first on keep trade cut is below only these wide receivers. Are you ready?
Yes.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, obviously.
Yes.
CD Lamb is now the wide receiver 3. That's interesting. Amon-Ra St. Brown. AJ Brown is below Amon-Ra St. Brown right now. This is just how you can tell like the wide receiver rankings are just based on who's going off, especially in a crowdsource like Keep Trade Cut. So
I
anyway,
mean,
Justin
I'm
Jefferson,
on.
Jamar Chase, CD Lamb, Sun God, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Garrett Wilson, and then it's an early first.
Yeah. I guess Garrett Wilson. And I'm not sure if I
Here's
would
my
rather
hot
have.
take: Garrett Wilson's kind of overrated for the performance that he gives you, the productivity that he gives you. I think he's a little bit overrated. In fact, I'll even say it. I think Chris Olave, for the production that Chris Olave gives you, is more valuable than Garrett Wilson.
Uh, I guess I just think we are just it's just a muddy situation here. Because if you're telling me that Garrett Wilson gets an actual QB and not like this revolving door of guys that he's been getting, then you're telling me that even with all of this going on around him, he has still been like a decent guy. Like, he hasn't been great, but I can check right now. But yeah, I mean, he's still putting up double-digit points in most weeks. And this is a revolving door of guys, and he's wide receiver 23. So at some point, you have to say, okay, he's not producing, he needs to go down. But I guess if there's one guy you shouldn't be downgraded because of it, is Garrett Wilson due to the what he has had to work with QB wise, while Olave has had pretty much a dream scenario there with Carr, who just hyper targets his number one usually, and with Winston, who's coming in when Carr is hurt and he's just a gunslinger. Like, I think if Garrett Wilson had those guys, he would put up similar production to Olave. That said, I'm not sure if I wouldn't rather have Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'd
and
rather have Marvin
re-roll that.
Harrison Jr. over them both.
Yeah, because then you're like, especially when you know where he goes. Like, if you're telling me he goes early, and I think he does go like top three. For example, if he goes to the Cardinals, like, I am pretty sad on taking Marvin Harrison Jr. over Garrett Wilson. Now, if he goes to the Bears with Justin Fields, and they are like, okay, we'll give him another year, which I think
Do you
it's like
know? Speaking
franchise
of which,
upside.
I do want to talk about some because once again, Keep Trade Cut is just a crowdsourced website. Do you know how high CD Lamb is right now
I mean, I gotta believe he's top eight, like overall. If he's top
on
three at wide
Superflex
receiver. Oh
or
no,
no?
no,
No,
I was saying standard, yeah.
he's number
Standard
3.
three overall. Yeah, so the top three are just all wide receiver, which sort of makes sense when you think about it.
That's
When
crazy.
because not only is the movement going more towards the wide receiver, which I always said that should be the way to go. Not only is it going more towards the wide receiver, but you also don't have like that superstar running back who's super young. Like Bijan, I guess that's what you can hang your hat on.
That's,
But even his
that's
production hasn't been great, so you're
that's because
sort of like,
Falcons. That's because
yes,
Falcons.
yes, yeah. And this year's class doesn't really have that many running backs who are like highly touted. So I wouldn't even be shocked if soon enough the top five are wide receivers because Marvin
You know,
Harrison Jr. will enter that conversation soon enough. And then it's just like one of these young guys will just take the rise even further.
the only good thing about the Falcons being in the playoffs as of right now over the Saints is they won't have another top 10 pick to waste more talent.
Yeah. And they will have probably, and not only that, but they will also probably have a pick that is high enough to draft a QB due to how loaded this draft class is at QB.
Mhm.
So it's not all that bad that they make the playoffs, I guess.
I think they're going to trade up. I think after watching this season, they're going to get desperate for a quarterback. I think they're trading up.
Mm, I think it's. I'm not sure if they trade up though. They do
Because
not
here's the thing.
strike me as the
Here's,
team who trades up.
who's going to be?
Who?
It's going to be the freaking Bears again.
I've seen some trades involving the Bears, and it's like they move off of first to allow someone
Because
to
here's
get
the thing.
Caleb.
Even if you accept that they're not in on Justin Fields and they need a quarterback, they still have another top 5 pick. Like,
Will they though?
how will they what though? They have 2 top 5 picks. They can pick a quarterback with one, trade the other one away, get more picks, and then try and repeat the cycle.
Will they finish with two top
Yes.
five picks though?
Yes.
Hmm. I'm not so sure to be honest.
Are you saying the Bears are about to start winning football games?
I just think they are not the worst team in the league.
Well, that's okay because they have the Panthers first, and the Panthers are the worst team in the league.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so they are not worse than the Panthers right now. That's established. Are they worse than the Patriots?
No, I can confidently say that. No.
Yeah, they are not worse than the Patriots. And then it's
Now you're
just
gonna
like,
now you're gonna run
are
out. There's like one other team I'm confident saying they're worse than, and that's it.
Giants. The
It's the
Giants.
Giants. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay. But then it's like, okay, offensively, they are not better than the Commanders, for example. And I
No.
don't think overall they are a better team than the Commanders, but I think the Commanders have a tougher schedule to end the season. So I'm not sure if they don't win more games than the Commanders right now. And if I'm saying that, then it's like, okay, they are five. And then you have, I don't know, you have the
Listen,
Cardinals who are
listen,
currently ahead of them. You have
Alex,
the Jets.
Alex.
Ah,
Coaches have been fired for not tanking. Just trust me. The Bears will have a top five pick.
yeah. And you know who was fired for winning the last game of the season?
Oh, you're
Lev-
going back to Lovey. Go on.
Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith. The gift that kept on giving to the Bears. And I mean, I understand when coaches do that, and I know fans will get pissed off, but it's like you sort of need to, you know you're gonna get fired, but you sort of you need to show something from you to at least give a future team something to ponder about you. That's like you're just not gonna roll over because the team won't care about you, the team that you're
So
currently on.
so here's the thing. Lovey Smith did that. Does Lovey Smith have a head coaching job right now?
Not right now, but
No,
it's
he
hard to
doesn't.
get a net coaching
Here's the
job
thing.
after going like 1-16
Here's
or
the
two
more
and six
important thing.
and 15.
Because you can excuse away the 1-16 because you can just say the roster was bad. I was set up to fail. I've been here, here, and here, and here, here, and here. I've set up successful schemes. What you can't convince an owner of is that I can play, because here's the thing: owners at the end of the day are are big egoed people. They don't like to be told like what to do, how to do, and they want you to stay in line. Lovey Smith proved he can't stay in line when he did that because everyone and their mom knew the Bears wanted to tank that game, and he won that game. And I think that's going to cost him a future head coaching job, but I could be wrong.
Mm. I currently don't think the Bears will have two top five
I
picks.
don't, for the record, I don't think it's right. I just think that's the way it is. Like the owners want someone who can play ball. They want
Yeah.
they want someone who can be basically an arm extension of themselves.
Yeah. And I agree with that. But I'm not sure if Feverflus at least gets a competent defense out there, like they have been against the run. I am not sure if that doesn't guarantee that like in a year or two you will at least get consideration to getting a defensive coordinator gig. While if he just lays down and gets trampled and his defense gets trampled, I mean he doesn't even have that to hang his hat on. So
Yeah,
okay, but we have sort of glanced over the news, and there were quite a bit of news.
there is.
And I guess we need to talk about those. So to start, Tank Dell, the rookie sensation from the Houston Texans, injured, just broke his fibula, if I'm not mistaken,
Done
and
for
is
the year.
heading to yeah,
Yeah.
and he's already on injured reserve. So how does that impact the Texans defense in your mind? Offense
The
in your
defense,
mind?
it doesn't impact it at all.
The offense in your mind.
It doesn't impact it at all. To be fair, CJ Stroud has looked amazing no matter who's out there. Like did Tank Dell look good? Absolutely. But he's also made Nico Collins look good. He's also made Noah Brown look good. So, no. No. It appears like CJ Stroud is just able to take whoever they trout out there and make them look good. He can
But
he can
Tank
place the
Dell
ball where only they can get it. Go on.
Okay, but Tank Dell has sort of been their like number one weapon, and we have known that he can operate without a few of his weapons. We have seen him operate without Schultz. We've seen him operate without Nico Collins. We
Brown.
haven't real. There's like one game. Oh, come on, don't add Brown there. There's like one game in which Tank Dell didn't play, which was versus the Saints back in week 6. He didn't play there, and he didn't play like most of the game versus Atlanta. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the Atlanta game, yeah, that's it. Atlanta game and the New Orleans game was two of his worst games as a pro.
Are you saying that CJ Stroud is about to finish the year weak?
I mean, I can tell you right now that I don't think he will have a pretty good week versus the Jets. I can tell you right now that I also think he will struggle versus the Cleveland Browns. So then you have like 2 weeks versus Tennessee, and then it's at Indianapolis. I'm not saying that he will look like a bad player, but I can tell you right now that I think the whole Stroud for MVP campaign that was having some rumbles a few weeks ago won't have any by the time we get out of Cleveland on week 16.
Really?
Yeah, I think so at least. I think if he struggles versus the Jets, I mean, better QBs have struggled versus the Jets, especially for fantasy. For example, I believe Mahomes didn't have that great of a game versus the Jets. Yeah, it was the game in which he had 2 picks plus a fumble, if I'm not mistaken. So he had like 14.25 points versus the Jets. I mean, the Jets are just a good defense, and now he loses Tank Dell, who was his main weapon so far. So I think he struggles this week. Then he's at Tennessee, and then he struggles versus Cleveland as well.
Hmm.
And you don't think this impacts him at all?
No.
No?
No.
I just think it's a bigger loss. Think that, and I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to say this earlier in the season, but I think Tank Dell is a bigger loss than Nico Collins.
Sir. I mean, Tank Dell has played amazing for CJ,
Yes,
especially over the last few weeks.
he seems to like Nico. When you think about Tank Dell and Nico Collins, who do you think is like just top of your mind? Who do you think is the deep threat between the two guys?
Mm, probably Nico Collins because he's bigger.
Yeah, really. I had it the other way. But yeah, Nico Collins is usually the one who goes on the deeper routes,
Mm-hmm.
and Tank Val is on the shorter stuff. And it seems like it's just he's safety valve. It just goes to Tank
Yeah, he
Val
has
because
the Amon-Ra St. Brown role.
yeah, like the offensive line isn't great. So when they are not holding up, he'll just dump it to Tank Val, and when they do hold up,
So I guess
he
the
has more time
question
to read
is,
Nico Collins.
so then I guess the question is if whoever they put in that spot, whether it be Noah Brown, whether it be Nico Collins, whoever they put in that Tank Dell role of the underneath stuff, do you think it was Tank Dell who made that role work, or do you think that it'll just remain the same because it was the role and maybe not necessarily the player? Because I'm leaning more on that. I maybe I'm giving too much credit to CJ Stroud, but I think whoever they put down there is going to perform well.
No, I think the other way around works much better. I think if it was Nico Collins going down, and we have seen this, if it was Nico Collins going down, I think that's a much easier to replace role, and they have the personnel for that. While
Yeah, they put
replacing
Noah
Tank
Brown in.
Val, yeah, just put no around there. And I think Tank Val is it's harder to replace right now, at least to
Okay,
me.
that's fair.
Especially because they might be without. I haven't checked any of his updates yet,
What,
but they
Dalton
might be
Schultz?
without Schultz. Yeah, no, he was back to practice this week, so Schultz could take some of the intermediate stuff
Yeah.
and help alleviate the pressure. I still think it's a major loss to lose Tank Dell, and I was pretty adamant that Tank Dell would be like nothing uh, in the NFL, and I was wrong. I think Dell is a pretty good player. So safe recovers to him, and we'll see how this Texans offense looks going forward. Another news: Zach Wilson is back.
I'm surprised that Zach agreed to come back as the starter because I'm assuming that's what had to happen.
Welcome in, Zach. Welcome in.
You know. So are you ready to you ready for the dead horse to get beat down again?
Yeah, like as I said in the fantasy and the football show, I really didn't want him to come back. In part because I didn't want to have to defend any more of his play. Um, those weeks in which he didn't play were pretty good to me because I get a lot of flack whenever he plays bad. Not so much this year because now you have. It was more when Justin Fields was producing in fantasy. Now that it has been sort of meh, it's not as much. And also for the kid, I mean, I think he has gone through enough in New York, and I've seen plenty of media personalities criticizing him. Not so much in like the big shows, but like in the fantasy shows and so on, like those guys from the fantasy world. I've seen plenty of guys criticizing him who weren't that big of a fan from him. So I guess him saying that he's not gonna play, and he didn't really say that. It was more of a report, but a simple report of it made it so it was a an easy joke to make and like a good punchline for him. I don't know, like he doesn't have the worst matchups right now. Houston has been okay for the QB. Derek Stingley has been playing great. But other than that, I don't think their defense is awesome or anything. Then they have at Miami. Then they face Washington. So he has a few good games, but then he finishes the year at New England. So you just know he will just get destroyed. I don't know. I I was hoping he wouldn't come back, but now that he's back, I gotta support him. He's my guy.
Your guy.
He's my guy. He
I
won't
like
start
Alex.
for me this week though.
He won't start. Oh, that's fair. So what
I've
is so let's say someone is going through a similar situation as you because I'm assuming their teams whether you had Joe Burrow or you had one of the Kirk Cousins, any of the myriad of quarterbacks who seem like they went down this year. If you're deciding between people like Jake Browning, like Joe Flacco, like Zach Wilson, like what is your mindset as far as evaluating how good of a game they each one could have?
I guess you don't really have much to go on. It's just like who do you think will have the bigger boom week and who has the easier matchup? And that's why I'm struggling between Flacco and Browning because like Flacco is usually just a gunslinger and his matchup isn't as good in my eyes as Browning's. But I'm not sure if what I saw from Browning on Monday is a flash in the pan or if it's actually what he is right now. I think that was much closer to what I saw in Baltimore than what he showed last week before the Jags. Uh, what do you think? Did you see any of it? Did you see anything on the radio about Browning? What was the impression? Because what I got away from that game was
That
that
he
he
played really
looked
good.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that he
Okay.
played solid.
That's what I thought as well. He played really good, I
I
think.
I heard some reports and some people on the local radio saying going as far as saying that Jake Browning basically just ensured he has a second contract and maybe a decent payday with another team depending. Which I don't know if I'd go that far. We'll see.
Hmm. Yeah, I do know that like his touchdown to Chase was more of a defensive mess up than anything, to me
Mm-hmm.
at least. Like the defender just made a bad play on the ball. Chase got it and went to the house. Because that ball should be a bit more ahead of Chase to give him an actual chance. But I mean, it worked out in the end. Other than that, I mean, he had a few good throws. He led a few good drives. and he had a solid game. I'm just not sure if Flacco being the gunslinger isn't the best option.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think it's just you have to look at the matchup. Like these are all backup QBs. So in the end, I mean it's either your gut or you just go by who has the easier matchup. One of the two. It's now almost a 50-50 game between the two of us.
Nice.
It's 115.52 to 117.47. Anyway, in the rest of your leagues though, how are you doing?
Terrible.
I know in the one redraft you're doing okay to well. The
Redraft
one
is the
that we're
only thing I'm doing. I right now, if you combined all my redraft leagues, I probably have what is it? 7-6, 7-6, 9-4. I think that's where I'm at with them.
okay.
So I have a positive record, or maybe it's 6-6. Either way, I have a positive record in every redraft league I'm in. In my dynasty leagues, I am 5-8, 4-9, 6-7, 4-9, 5-21.
Okay, the 5-21, I know which one it is, because I'm also 5-21 in that one.
So
And
not good. I'm not going to make a single playoff in dynasty this year. Not one
uh,
single one.
I think I'm gonna make it in the NFFL 32 team league. And like a few random leagues that I joined that I have a chance of going into. Like mostly are paid leagues that were paid for, and I knew someone in it, and they just got me in the invite.
Mm-hmm.
And redraft, I have like my one big money league that I paid for, and I am 6-6-1. That's the league in which I tied, and I'm currently like there's one, two, three, four teams. No, yeah, four teams with a 7-6 record. So, and me was 6-6-1. So out of those five teams, there's three playoff spots available, and I am the only. I can't even get lucky in this. I am the only team who's facing a team with a winning record this week. Out of those teams that need to go in, I face the best team in the league.
That's crazy.
And I don't have Ramondre.
And you don't have Ramondre.
Yeah. Who do you think wins this matchup? It is Herbert versus Lamar Jackson. It is
Lamar,
Jameer. Okay, Jameer Gibbs versus McCaffrey.
McCaffrey,
ETN versus Eckler.
ETN,
Okay, so I have one at least. CeeDee Lamb versus Jefferson.
CeeDee Lamb.
Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Olave.
Oh my God.
That one is tough, isn't it? It's like right there.
Yeah, they both basically play the same. Oh my God. I'm gonna go Amon-Ra here.
Okay, so I have three guys there so far. Then it's Likely and Njoku.
Um, Likely usually performs better in the tight end row, so Likely.
Yeah, and then it goes downhill because then he has Pittman and Hopkins, and I have to start two of Pickens, Godwin, Mango, or Christian Watson who might be out.
That's crazy.
So like the flex one is gonna be hell for me. And yeah, and I'm desperately trying to make the playoffs in the redraft that we're both in. After starting again, I think it was like 2-7 or something. I've gone on to win 4 in a row or something like that. I need to win my last game to have a chance.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that I'm 7-6 in a league that I have CD Lamb, Jamar Chase, TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, that's the league you were trading Olave around or something, wasn't it? That you were either trying to get Olave or did get Olave.
No, it's a redraft league, but I'm just like
Okay.
I'm just it's just depressing. It's just um.
It
So
was
are you
another bit of. Oh,
go
go
ahead.
on, go on, go on, go on.
Are you maybe this is jumping the gun, but are you at the point where you are excited for the playoffs, or are you already ready for the scouting combine?
Yes, it depends on the league, isn't it?
Depends. It's fair.
Like, there's a few leagues in which I'm just ready to get this done with and just jump into the combine. And it might be the case for our main league. That just might be my mood right now, even with our matchup. I because I have the number 2 pick overall right now, and I don't think that changes. So I'm sort of because like if I had the 101, I knew who I would pick. Right now I have no clue, and the combine might make that much easier.
So
So I'm excited
here's
for
a
that.
silly question. Here's the crazy question. Do you regret not trading the 102 to get Patrick Mahomes right now?
Uh, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, I was just
No,
curious. I wasn't
no.
sure.
Like, if there was any regret there, it's because I would have been able to kept Christian Watson. But now he has the hamstring injury, which is another soft tissue injury that he's having. So it's kind of worked out in the end. But no, I don't really think he would have won me any weeks, would he? Like I would have him right now, and it's better to have him than Browning for sure. But it's like which weeks would he even have win it for me? Maybe week 11. I'm not sure how well he did, or if he was even on a bye. It might be that he was on a bye week 11. Week 11. Yeah, no. Week 11, he wouldn't have won me that week. Week 10, he was on a bye, so we definitely wouldn't have won me that week. And 8 and 9 as well, he wouldn't have won me those. So I really don't think I regret that, to be honest. Because,
Okay.
like, 3 game weeks in which I needed him, 4 game weeks in which I needed him, he wouldn't have really done it for me.
Hmm.
So I don't really think it mattered. Maybe it would have won me week 7. I would have to check like every single week how well my team did. But yeah, I don't regret it, to be honest.
I was just curious. And are you going into because let's be real, it's very likely that both their seasons are likely over. Are you going into the off season thinking you're going to move the 102 or make a selection with the 102?
Uh, Ideally, I would trade back and accumulate some assets. Because in my mind right now, the level of talent takes a dip after Marvin Harrison Jr. And I envision that like from 2 to 8, like there might be teardrops, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like quite a bit of these guys coming on. So ideally move back, maybe move out, but I really need youth, to be honest, because this roster is going way downhill.
Yeah.
Ideally, when I get eliminated from the playoffs, it should be soon.
It should be this week.
If it's not this week, it's gonna be next. So, like, even if I make it in, it's
You don't think you got a
versus.
chance against Alex Miller?
It's either Alex Miller or
It's Alex Miller.
It depends because, like, if there's, I don't know, if there's multiple teams losing, and I find myself in a 7-7 tie, I'm never gonna be the last team in a 7-7 tie. As long as there's like two teams making the playoffs as a 7-7, I'm never gonna be the last because I have more points than anyone. So unless there's just one team being 7-7, then it's Alex Miller, of course. I think. Yeah, he has it locked. He's the first seed. Last time we faced, it went okay-ish. Like, I had a pretty good week. You just had, I believe, the best. No, not the best week of any team in the league, but he had like 160 points. So kind of nothing I can do there. Like I scored 145.5, which in most weeks will be enough to win. I'm not sure if I can win it. I do think I have a better team than him, but I just know my players won't perform when it's go time. Like he started parking
Seems
Washington.
really good.
He's starting Parker Washington.
Yeah, but he also has Bijan Robinson, Travis Etienne. Okay, here's my hot take because he has like I don't think his team ages well. That's my hot take. Like next year, I think it'll. Well, but then again, he has CJ. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he has a few years. I do agree that he probably doesn't age too well, but I
Like
think
next
he has
year,
like
I don't know. I could be wrong though. I could be so wrong.
I think he has like a 2 year or 3 year window, but then it falls out real quick if it doesn't make moves. But he usually makes them, so
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure if I win. But I know I'm about ready to end this season because when I do, I can move. The thing is, my team doesn't age well at all because most of my assets are aging quick right now. So if I do get eliminated, then I can move off some of them.
Hopefully,
Hopefully. Exactly.
we'll see.
Like, it's looking like a mistake to bring in Stefan Diggs. I'm not gonna lie. Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Even though he's wide receiver 6. But I guess it's just a matter of like experience. For example,
Oh,
if I had him for the 26 points week 1 versus the Jets, the 36 versus Miami, the 20s that happened there around the I don't know Jacksonville and New York, the Giants, then I
so
could be okay with the, but I didn't have them for that, so
so how do you navigate a team that's getting older? Because obviously, like let's look at some of the older players in your roster. You have Alvin Kamara, you have Stephon Diggs, but you have Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, you have Derrick Henry, but you also have younger players like a Drake London, like a Jaden Reed, like a Jamar Chase. So how do you navigate moving off older players, but not completely like destroying the core of your team? How do you navigate that?
sometimes you just have to be lucky, to be honest. Uh, it is because I find myself in a position that I really don't like, which is having a lot of older running backs. As I said during the off season, I think it's a good time to invest in older backs. But right now, I have
All
three
of them.
running backs. Yeah, I have three running backs over the age of 26, and you just know that every week that goes on, they just lose value. And when the season is over, they take a massive dip. Like
Yeah.
if I offer you 30-year-old Derrick Henry, you're like in the off season, you're like, yeah, I don't want this guy.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard, I think, and that's why if I was eliminated from the playoffs, it might help me in the long term because then I can move off of these assets while they're still like relevant in season. But yeah, like I have to find someone who likes these players and who's down on the draft class, and eventually those guys come up and there will be deals to be struck. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna enter the season with a team that I absolutely love. That's a concern. Usually, I like my value tied in my wide receivers, and right now it's like the guys under what 20, 27 are just Chase, Reed, London, and even Reed. You just know that like Reed isn't that superstar guy. He's like an okay guy right now, and then that's it. There's like really, I guess Marvin Mims was more of a project right now.
Yeah.
And then that's really it. So I need to attack wide receiver quickly. And I need James Cook to have a massive end of season. That's the only way that I really
How
can
set
have
up
a
are you
good
for the
move here.
future? Like, how many picks do you have? You have okay, so you have two first in this draft.
Yeah, I am better set up in terms of picks than I've been in previous years.
Yeah.
Like by this time, I usually don't have many picks
No, no, you don't.
to write home about.
Usually, I've bought to try and get into
Yeah,
the play or try to make a playoff run.
yeah. And now I'm like I have two firsts, a second this year, then a third and a fourth, then I have 3 seconds next year. I don't have a first yet.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm in a position in which I can make the moves that I usually make. Because for the people who don't know, I usually try to sell off players during the playoffs. I try to be active early in the off season, trying to get a few picks in just to rejuvenate the core. But now I can do that work for 2025, which is easier. It's easier to get a pick a year in advance, as you know pretty well.
I am. Listen. I am the master of making sure I have multiple firsts in future drafts.
Yes, and you've made a pretty solid roster out of it.
Yep.
So it's time to do that work now and
Dude, it's
focus
a
on having big
long
young.
freaking process. It is a long road from having nothing. Like, I know this firsthand. It is a long road from having like no picks, like at all, and having a roster you're not happy with, and then blowing it up, and then acquiring picks, hopefully drafting talent. It is a long process.
Yeah, I guess I can also do something different.
Hmm.
I can roll this year like minimal moving, and then I can blow it up next year. That's a possibility. Like I just don't think that I can actually blow it up because I have a lot of talent that is still like young-ish. So eventually, like I can retool, but I don't think I would be able to fully blow it up like you did.
No,
Or
and if I was you, I wouldn't like. If you're going to blow it up you completely, then that means you have like no young talent that you think will be good in the next like 2 3 years. Like, and I didn't
yeah,
have, anything that I thought I could hang my head on. So
and there's teams. There's also this should be mentioned. There's teams who are about to fall off, like who are competing right now and will fall off
yeah,
faster than me.
but I do think it's easier to be in the situation that you are in, where you have a few young pieces. Maybe you sell off some older things, get some draft picks, and then, you know, as you would say,
Yeah,
get lucky.
yeah. I think some of it is just that I'm gonna have to take some losses in terms of what I perceive as value, and I really don't like that.
No, you don't.
But at the same time, I think that's necessary because I'm never gonna be able to, like, I'm not gonna sell all of my old guys, but at the same time, I can't expect to be able to move like Derrick Henry for the price that I envision
No.
because he just doesn't have it. Like, but maybe Kamara is a different, it's a different sort of asset because he catches passes. But it's just, I think most of my deals might come either really in the draft or just when the season starts, because that's when these guys start to get value again.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And honestly, if you have a player like Derrick Henry, maybe you see if the Tajay Spears owner will give you, something for him.
Yeah. Do you want to give me something for it?
I'd consider it.
Yeah,
I'm
you're the Tajay
serious.
Spears owner.
I am the Tajay Spears owner. You're not wrong.
Yeah, so maybe after this week, how about that?
I'd consider it.
Because the only thing that would that would be worse than losing to you this week is if I lose to you by giving you the winning piece. That might be the last stab that I need to just blow this thing all up.
You're just
Uh,
hanging in by a thread.
yeah. This is gonna be a fun week, and it's probably is it like one of the funniest or like most exciting weeks for you usually on the year, and the leagues that you're competing, or do you never
Oh
find
yeah.
yourself in a position to?
No, here's the thing. Most of the teams that you're gonna have are either know you're in the playoffs or you know you're not in the playoffs. So I don't think for most people this week is very exciting. This week, in fact, I even see some people who, if they know they make the playoffs, will just bench all their good players to give someone a free win. There are people like that. So this week isn't the exciting week. The exciting week is next week when the playoffs start because like unless you're competing like scenarios like our matchup is very very rare. And if it's happening it's only happening to like one matchup in the entire league.
The funniest thing is that like our matchup isn't even winning in. It's win if I win, 'cause you I don't think you even have a chance. You're like 200 points off. So you needed to score like I don't know 300 points, which would be a league record by over 1,000. Uh, no, 100. My bad, not 1,000. That would be nuts. Um, but it's I win and then I need a bunch of things to happen. What do you think? And this is probably common around this time of the year. What do you think of purposely losing this week in order to get a better matchup next week? Because that's something that is talked about often, and that has happened in the 32 team league last year. And
Don't do
I'll
it.
tell you what
That's a
happened
trap.
after that.
That's a trap. I can
Okay.
tell you right now that's a trap.
Okay. Do you think that is that is okay? Like it's not advised to do it because of the trap, but is okay to do? Or is that like
Yeah,
something
like I don't
that
think there
you
should be a league rule against it. Let people run their teams the way
okay.
they want to run their teams.
Okay, so you don't call BS on that.
No, I'm all team petty. I am
Okay.
all team petty. Like if you want to like take your final week to prevent this guy you hate from making the playoffs, do it. Team petty all the way.
Okay. Okay. Because last year we had Matthew, the Denver Broncos owner in the 32 team league.
Uh-huh.
He had 1 week. I'm not sure if it was the last week of the season or like the second to last, but he knew he was in basically. And he purposely lost a week in one of the last 4 weeks. It was something like that. It was the week in which he had the better chance to lose, do two buys and all of that. So he tanked that week because he wanted to have a better playoff matchup, round one. And when he had the playoff matchup, he lost that playoff matchup, and he would have won the one that he would have had if he didn't tank that week.
Yeah, it's
So
bad
that was
karma.
poetic justice.
Yeah. No, do
And
not
that led
test the
to,
fantasy football gods. That's my advice. Don't test them.
yeah, and him losing that game because in that league last year we did records, not maximal points forward. And him losing made it so the team that Corey had the first round pick from, that team won one more game, and like we have a lottery there. So it's not like if you're the worst record, you get the pick. It's if you're the worst record, you get the better lottery odds, sort of like the NBA.
So you're saying that him tanking that game caused a what's it called?
A league change, a ruling change, or a way that we decide the lottery change, basically.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say a rule change. I was gonna say like it started a series of events that eventually got Corey to not get the 101. Is that what you're
Uh,
saying?
Probably, yeah, probably, because then he didn't get it and he had to trade for it. I'm not sure if he would have gotten it if he had like the better odds from that loss. But yeah, that made a rule change in the league as well, because now we go by maximal points forward to avoid that. But we haven't really said anything about the doing what Matthew did. It's still okay to do. You actually, I'm not sure if you knew this, but you had a chance at making the playoffs in that
Did I?
league. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was like a long shot. But at a point there, you were winning, and then you just needed like one more thing to happen, and you would be in, which is
Oh,
nuts
was
when
it
you
the
think
game
about it.
against Luke?
Yeah, you lost by 0.94, and if I think that is if you had won and the Ravens had lost, you would be in with like the remaining results being what they are.
And you know what? Didn't lose
What?
any sleep on it.
Yeah, you didn't even know that it was happening.
Nope, didn't even know that it was happening.
Oh, uh, yeah. The playoffs in that league starts this week, and you get the grudge match
Yep.
versus your nemesis,
Mark II Law.
Mark II Law, the random guy that you just started to go off on for no reason.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta start a blood rivalry with someone just out of the blue.
Just
Oh,
go for it,
you don't
isn't
do
it?
that? You don't do that?
We have a blood rivalry, isn't it?
Not out of the blue.
None but out of the blue. It's just years of matchups brewing.
Hmm.
Oh, damn. While we're on the show, the projected score for my team just continues to go up. Like every minute that we're in the show, I guess.
It'll just make losing that much better. In fact, I hope you're the projected winner.
Yeah. It started like 114 something, and now it's 116. While we have
It's
still the same.
116.
Yeah. It's just
It was
going
at
up.
113 at one point, dude.
Yeah, it's 116 now. This is like buying a stock that is just going to the moon right now.
Yeah, before it tanks.
Before it tanks. This is just GameStop before things went to crap.
I had stock in GameStop.
Oh, so you could have been in the movie. I watched the movie the other day. Dumb Money. A movie
I could
about
have.
the
So here's
events.
what happened. Are you ready for this?
Go.
I sold the stock before it even rose.
Oh, god damn it, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
Diamond hands, dude. Diamond hands.
I could have had. Yeah, it was like 100 like stock too. Oh my god, I don't want to calculate how much money that would have been. Good.
Yeah, you're like that guy who once paid a pizza with Bitcoin before the
Yeah,
Bitcoin went up. So he paid like I think it was like three. No, it was 10. I believe
ten
it was
thousand
around 10 Bitcoin.
dollars
Yeah,
for
per pizza. But yeah, that was a good movie. I had a friend who hopped in, but he hopped in is like the like peak Wall Street bets. He hopped in when it was at its highest. So it's like, great job, dude. Now you just hold it. I don't think it was at the absolute highest, but I think it was after it reached like 300 something dollars. Then he bought it when it took a dip at 200 something, and then it just sort of hang
I
in there.
told my listen, I told my girlfriend at the time like at 200 I'd have sold. If I knew it was going up at 200, if I had those I would have sold at 200.
Yeah. The thing is that he jumped in. at 200 after he like because he had reached to 300, then he took a dip, then the whole Robin Hood thing happened, then it
Yeah.
stayed at
Oh,
200 for
yeah.
a
By
bit.
the way, that was bogus. They froze those stocks, so you couldn't buy them. You could only sell them.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I followed that quite a bit as well. I mean, I think most people followed it, and I followed it quite a bit, so I remember what happened, and they portrayed it pretty well in the movie as well. But yeah, it was after the whole thing happened, and he sort of just was stuck around with 200 because then he didn't want to. It's the fear of missing out, isn't it? Like you
FOMO.
bought it
Yeah.
at 200, yeah, you bought it at 200 something dollars, and it's like if it goes up, but then it actually never did, so we eventually just sold it at a loss, which is peak Wall Street bets, dude. Peak Wall Street bets.
Yeah. Did I tell you that recently on the thing I use to edit, there is an AI to text. So now everything we say on our YouTube videos is is subtitled at the bottom.
Oh, is it?
Yep, everything we say. The AI doesn't get things perfect, especially
Okay.
with your accent and my North Midwest accent, but it gets it pretty close.
Yeah, with my accent, it might not be even good.
Yeah, probably not.
But it's good. AI is catching up.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get flagged for talking about Wall Street bets and talking about
Oh well.
auctions and all of that. Now we're a
So,
finance show.
did Ren ever get with you, by the way?
Don't think so.
We are doing another special.
Oh, he mentioned it in the chat, but then
Uh-huh.
I was under the impression that would be in the week that I was out, like last week. But then he never said anything else, so I sort of just didn't know.
So we're Oh, I will give you the show sheet at some point, and in fact, I'll see if I can send it
Oh,
now.
you sent me something of sorts through GroupMe,
Yeah,
I believe.
but
Yeah,
but it's gonna be uploaded on our 1 year anniversary
wh-
for
which
actually is it
is I
January 1st.
January 1st. Okay,
And Ren wants to record around Christmas if we can.
okay. That depends when. Is it like prior to Christmas? I hope it's prior to Christmas, right?
I'm not sure.
If it is on Christmas, I can tell you right now that I can't.
Yeah, no, I figured that much.
Yeah,
Since when?
like Christmas Eve, as we talked about in the other show, that's when we celebrate here, and then Christmas is just like no can do.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll tell him
uh,
that. But I know he wants it to do it that week.
yeah, like that week it's possible. That's like in 2 weeks. So it's like from the 18th to the 22th if we're talking about weekdays. So
Yeah.
we can just fit it in somewhere.
And after we did, so I realized I hadn't seen all the Scream movies. After we did that Halloween special, I actually went through and watched all the Scream movies.
They're good, aren't they? Like most,
They are.
uh, there's a couple who are like, okay.
Have you
But
watched
then
them all
the,
first off?
yeah, yeah, I did.
Okay, I have some hot takes. What are your top three?
My top three. Okay, so the original, of course,
Yeah, that's my number
has to be
one.
one.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's it. Then I think the one that came out 2022, so not the last one that came out, but the one prior to that.
Oh
I put
no.
that at two. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like it's the new gen. It was done pretty well.
And
And then
what's
I think
number?
it's the fourth one. The one that
We
came
have
out
the
in
same top
Rump.
three.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like the third one, it's up there, but I think the fourth, it's a much better movie because I think it makes sense that it is that way because of how the franchise operates. So the first one sort of defined the whole genre.
It made the formula. Yeah.
Yes, and then it's like in 2010 they did a take on it, and it's like they are basically giving you the state of art, basically, where the horror movies are going, and that I think that's what the Scream movies do really well. It's just giving you a context on what's happening in horror and giving you their take on it in a subtle way. And then the same thing happened in 2022. So that's why I think those are my three best movies. And you seem to agree with me.
Yes. I think the 2022 one, especially like at the end, like when you just saw the title, like for Wes or thank you, it was something. It was the 2022 movie was basically like a love letter to Wes Craven after he had passed, and I
Yeah,
thought the plot of it was done beautifully. The way they executed that was done beautifully.
I just dropped the Portuguese word in here.
What?
Instead of saying yes, I said sim, which is
Oh,
Portuguese for yes. But yeah, I agree. I agree. That was a good love letter for him.
but yeah, I think 2 and 3 honestly were the worst for me.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like they were done too soon, and they were done at a time in which, like the first movie did really well, and then it's just like, okay, we have to pump out these sequels, and it was at a point in which movies just love to pump out sequels,
Yeah.
to get as much money as possible. And now they have sort of realized that that is not necessary. At least they did in 2010. So that's the standalone that came out.
So
Now they're sort of falling into the same trap here. Because the last one, while good to okay, didn't have the same feeling as the 2010 or 2022 movies.
so the Scream franchise is probably in a lot of trouble. So did you hear that the actress
Yeah.
who portrays Sam, got fired
Yeah.
by Spyglass?
Yes.
And not only that, Jenny Ortega apparently walked out over contract disputes over what she's
Yeah.
being paid.
Apparently, it's also because like what came out was that she wanted to have a lighter schedule due to Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
But like she said that to the movie studio before the whole Sam news came out,
Hmm.
but sort of a bad timing, I guess,
And not only
because
that, so like the sixth movie, Sidney Prescott's character didn't come back because of another contract dispute
contract
between
dispute. Yeah.
Campbell and Spyglass. So they have no main actress.
Uh, I uh, I think they're in trouble. I think they will get Campbell back because now they have to do what they didn't want to do prior, and they will have to
They're gonna have to,
dump a whole. They're gonna have to dump a load of money on our backyard to get her to come back.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's talks that they want Dempsey as well back, who appeared in like the third movie, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
and who's her husband in the movies. But I think what they really messed up is that they spent the last two movies building up the characters that would take charge of the next generation of Scream, and now they
Now they're
sort of
gone.
just threw there in the garbage. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they have effectively spent two movies
And
building
here's the
nothing.
thing. Here's the thing. They set them up really, really good.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Like,
while the last movie wasn't as good as the 2022 movie, it was still a pretty good movie, and he really didn't miss. Um,
see. I
the girl who I now
understand
can't
why
remember
the
her name.
2022 movie gets viewed higher, but I think they did a really good job setting up Sam and Tara and the two twins in the future. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think they did. It's just like I like the 2022 better. It's not like the 2023 movie isn't good. I think it's better than the second Scream movie, and I guess I would say it's the fourth best movie from Scream. It's between that and the third movie, which I didn't hate. But hey, it's tough right now because now you just have to go back to the whole Sydney thing, and you don't have Gail or Dewey.
You have
Uh,
Gail.
Okay, you sort of have Gale.
They
I was under the impression she would be out as well,
no,
but
no.
now I
They didn't
think,
explicitly take her out in the last movie.
yeah. But now I just think you have to turn to something else, and I'm
Here's what's gonna be
99%
weird
sure it's
because
gonna be the guy who some people assume he didn't die in the first movie. Who I never remember his name, but it's the guy who played Scooby Doo. The
Stu, the guy who played Stu, yeah.
Yes, Stu, exactly. I never remember if it's Stewart. I always think it's Stewart. But yeah,
But
I gotta believe that's the guy coming
but
back.
here's the weird thing. So you have the twins. Do you keep the twins? Because you have the twins tied to Randy, who was an original character.
Nah, you have to keep the twins.
You have to keep the twins. Okay. So what do you do then? Do you make one of Sydney's kids the the main at that point?
Oh, that would.
You
I
because
guess
you
that works, but it's like, is it really what they have to go after?
it
It's
seems
it's
like the
weird.
most logical choice because they kind of blew the whole. Because here's what I think. Here's what I think they were going to get to with Sam. I think over the course of the two movies, Sam kind of more quickly accepted like the Billy Loomis side of her bloodline.
Yes.
I think eventually we were going to see Sam turn into Ghostface.
Okay, but then that allows you to do something here because then it allow if said the
That
plan for
said,
next
Sam's not
movie.
coming back.
Yeah, but like if the plan for next movie was to take out Sam and just
It's
leave
not.
Tara,
Yeah.
okay, then you can do something similar here in which you introduce two new characters, but now you need the star power here. But you introduce two new characters from the same school, related somehow, and then one of them is the ghost face. And then that gets eliminated, and then you keep your new core tree, as you would have kept with Terra. Now, does the actor or actress have the same pool as Jenna Ortega, who was on fire with Wednesday and all of that? I am not so sure,
See,
but
I think the
that's.
best option is just reboot this whole thing. That's just me.
I'm not sure if you can reboot it though.
You have to.
But it's hard to reboot because I don't
Because
think you will have her.
they set it up so well. Yes, I know, but oh,
And something on Scream is just the continuity of it. So it's just like you never know who's the new character that's coming out, and I think that's one of the appeal of the new movies before this whole thing happened was will Stu come back, and I saw plenty of that prior to this last movie. Will Stu come back? So that's those little nuances and the continuity aspect of it. I think that's one of the appealing sides of Scream. And if you reboot it, that's gonna be hard to bring the old fan base back, especially if it goes poorly. That's like the
it's kind
not.
of rough. What they did is kind of to themselves in a way is kind of rough because the Scream movies that they rebooted like they succeeded. They made a lot more profit than they were projected. So so you have a Hollywood who is obsessed with sequels now, and you finally found one that is successful, and then you lost your main two characters. That's just rough. That's just rough. Like,
That's just shooting yourself in the foot.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens here. We started with fantasy football, and we finish on Scream movie.
I mean, that's
Perfect.
the third one was projected to come out in 2025. If they actually do put out a movie in 2025, I don't care what they do. I'm gonna watch it. So, like,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Doesn't even matter. It's my girlfriend's favorite horror movie. That or
yeah.
Halloween.
quite honestly, I think of all the major like horror franchises, I think it's done the best.
Yeah, because for example, you had the sequel, and the sequel did pretty well and had pretty good reviews still. And if you watch, for example, Halloween, who, in my opinion, had a better movie when it came out in 2018. I'm pretty sure it's 2018. The 2018 Halloween movie to me is better than the 2022 Scream movie
I don't know if I could
or
say that.
2020. Yeah, but then the sequels, like Halloween, took a dive, and it's pretty terrible. While Scream managed to stay afloat, and I've been saying 2022, but I'm not sure if it's 2022 or 2021 because I'm just remembering that it's 2023.
Mhm.
But the movie came out in January. The later one, wasn't it? It was like early in this year or something. But I hope people understand what I'm saying. I haven't been mentioning the names. Okay, yeah, it was 2022, 2023. The movie just came out super early this year. Yeah. We shall see what they do next. It's like they are on this. Oh, you also have the. We've been forgetting it. You also have the girl that came back from the fourth movie, the blonde girl.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, Kirby.
Kirby.
You also have that one coming back. So you sort
Maybe she.
of,
I mean, maybe she could transition to the final, but I don't know. I
or
mean,
she
they've
can
said,
transition to the senior role because now she has survived to ghost faces,
yeah, I guess that's true.
and she was the girlfriend of the fourth movies, one of the fourth movies, ghost faces, because there were two in that one. So yeah, we shall see what they do, and we have to start a movie podcast sometime soon, I guess, to entertain the masses. They want to hear us talk about movies.
Honestly, we could probably do it on the YouTube. Like I've been trying to figure out what to do with the YouTube, but if you ever want to talk about movies, then screw it. We can record like a small bit and then put it on YouTube.
Yeah, I, I watch a ton of movies. Like I think I've mentioned that before. Oh, the other day we watched the one that you were talking about in the other show. The It's a Wonderful Knife.
Yeah, it's a wonderful knife. I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Yeah. It's kind of whatever. It's like
It's mid.
a
Yeah.
cheesy horror movie, but it serves a purpose because it's a holidays horror movie. So serves fills a gap that there exists in the genre of horror. Although I mean, it was entertaining to a point. One thing that I didn't like is that they revealed the killer like right at the start. So it's more of a okay, I know who you are type of movie, and I usually prefer the suspense of not knowing who the killer is. But yeah, it wasn't terrible. Wasn't good either.
We'll have to plan something out. But I think we've gone on long enough. You start for the
Yeah,
fantasy talk, you end for the screen talk.
we did for sure. Okay, have anything else to add? Do I start the outro?
Yep, start the outro, buddy.
Okay, guys. As Angelo usually says, there's a fancy, nice little donate button there that you can just tap on and help us out. If you're listening on podcast app or the Spotify app, just subscribe. Give us a 5-star review, as always. Nothing lower than that. And turn on the auto download. That helps as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and turn the notifications on. And have a very nice last week of fantasy football, and may the fantasy gods be with you, because I know they won't be
Not
with
with
me.
Alex. They're not with Alex.
Have a good one, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.